Well, when Chen Yang saw his reaction, he knew that he had retreated again, just a little bit excited. This little uncle, everything else is fine, but he is too stingy, especially because he is afraid that others will know how much money he has. Apart from the fact that his mother often helped their family in the early years, he gained some trust from him. He doesn't believe in the slightest. Not to mention that Uncle and Uncle 3 are not only delicious and lazy, but also like to gamble and play mahjong. How much money do you have? It is a sure thing to borrow 10 or 20,000. Thinking of this, Chen Yang glanced at the three uncles secretly. I am afraid that the little uncle refused to buy a stall in his previous life, probably because of this consideration. If this is the case, then no matter how extravagantly he talks about it, he probably won't buy it. Sure enough, the little uncle raised his wine glass and said with feigned regret, Yang's analysis is very good. I was moved after hearing it, but I really don't have enough money. If you can lend me some, maybe I will give you money. I bought it. The auntie looked at him, pressed her lips together, but in the end she still didn't say anything. Nonsense. The uncle obviously didn't believe it, pointing at him and said, you're just picky, I'm afraid others will ask you to borrow money, buy it or not, it's up to you, anyway. We are eating cornbread to talk about state affairs, eating salty carrots and not worrying. Quote. At this time, it was time for Father Chen to appear on the stage. He raised his glass and shook it, drink, drink. Then, the atmosphere was harmonious. There are 4 sisters in my mother's family. Only my mother married my father, a worker. Especially in the 1980s and 1990s when workers were most popular, my father was very prestigious in front of them and helped him a lot. I'm used to it, but I'm used to it. Every time there is a little friction here, my father will come forward to mediate, and several aunts are willing to give this face. Soon after dinner, the third aunt and the aunt's family left. Today has been delayed for a long time. They have to go to get the goods at 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, so they have to go back quickly to rest. Definitely need to catch up on sleep at the stall. Chen Yang also put his things into the room. This small room was originally lived in by my cousin, and it was temporarily vacated for him because he came over. I went to the living room and made a mattress to sleep on. I have to say that the relatives here are really good to him. So late to notice. At this time, the outside quickly quieted down. Parents, aunts and the rest of the family were already asleep, lying on the bed covered with bamboo mats. Chen Yang didn't feel sleepy at all. How can I gather 150,000 to buy that stall? My family should have 50,000 yuan. This money was paid by the unit to buy out the seniority when my parents' factory went bankrupt a few years ago. After my father got it, he deposited it in the bank and planned to save it for his own marriage. It's time to buy a house. At this time, 50,000 yuan can just buy a commercial house in the town. It's a pity that it was useless until my father left. At that time, he was already seriously ill. I wanted to take out the money to treat him, but he refused. My mother was useless afterward, and I kept it for myself before leaving. The reason why they didn't give it in advance may be that they knew their son too well, and they were afraid that the flowers would disappear if they let go. Thinking of this, Chen Yang's face was full of bitterness. In fact, he wanted to use the money to invest several times before, but he couldn't succeed in the end. He could only watch the opportunity flash by before his eyes. At that time, I even complained to my parents that 50,000 yuan had been deposited in the bank for more than 10 years, and all the interest was less than 60,000 yuan. At that time, the house price was out of reach. When can I save my part-time job? But looking back, maybe my parents are right. After all, the market is risky, and investment needs to be cautious. Even if I choose a popular industry, such as small jewelry this year, and maternity and baby product stores in the next 2 years, there is no good execution and risk management and control capabilities will drown people in the blue ocean. Perhaps, I should make a good plan for my future life, and I must find my own position, otherwise, even if I can earn the first pot of gold this time, and then seize some opportunities in the next few years, maybe it only takes one mistake. You can ruin all your previous efforts, so be careful. Think too much, take it back, the first pot of gold has not yet arrived. The small electric fan at the corner of the bed whistled. Chen Yang stroked his head, thinking about money, think about it. Call, fell asleep. When he woke up, Chen Yang raised his head and looked out the window. The sky was a bit dark, and then he looked at his phone, it was already past 6 o'clock in the evening. Getting up and going outside, the room was empty. The rice cooker on the dining table was plugged in and the light was on. Chen Yang walked over and opened it. There was a bowl full of vegetables on top of the rice. It's all steaming hot. Looking at the food in the pot, reading www.ukanshu.com, Chen Yang first smiled knowingly, and then felt a pang of sadness in his heart. Before going to university, every time he came home from self-study in the evening, there was such a hot meal at home, I am also used to it. It seems that I have never thought that this is my mother's love. Since when did you have less and less contact with your parents? Lifting his head and taking a deep breath, Chen Yang went to the bathroom to wash his face, and after a simple meal, he picked up the key left by his father on the table and went out. Not counting the previous life, Chen Yang has been here once in this life, so he is not a complete stranger. After going downstairs and going out, he looked around a few times, and quickly found the memory deep in his mind, and walked out of the village along the alley. This building is not far from the main road, but it is not the road where the bus got off before, but another main road. All the large trucks entering the market also enter and leave the market along this main road. After walking for 2 minutes, before I got outside, I heard the hustle and bustle. It is more lively at night than during the day, which is also what makes this place different from other urban villages. Going out of the alley, there is a main road in the village that is more than 4 meters wide, just enough for a car to pass. There are lively shops on both sides of the road, just like the market next to it. At this time, the business of the shops has just started, most of them are food shops. Other clothing stores, mobile phone stores, audio-visual stores, and occasionally 1 or 2 clinics, which are full of life. It can be said that if only from the perspective of meeting survival needs, you can live here for a lifetime without leaving the village. Of course, no one's so nerdy. Go out along the main road, and you will see a supermarket in a short while. Walking through the supermarket is the main road. On the main road, Chen Yang had almost recovered his memory, turned left without hesitation, hesitated a little at the intersection in front of him, continued walking, and saw the main gate of the market.